You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, it is Tuesday all day long. You're not there to hump day yet. You're past the first day of the week, and you got a little bit more to go to get to the weekend. Tuesday, but we'll take it. It's a beautiful day, and the Butters is on the board again. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. We managed to get through yesterday unscathed.
Whoop, whoop.
Great conversation.
You did.
Looking forward to today.
Do you know where the applause button is, by the way? Do you have your hands on that over there yet?
I think so.
Hit it. You deserve a little applause. Do we? It's too low. You got to turn it up.
Oh yeah.
See, now you're making me have to call you out.
Well, I can't look too good, right?
Well, good job, man, though. You did good, and we're glad to have you on the team. All right, listen, we got a great show laid on for you. I have deliberately not scheduled guests because breaking news is out there right now. We're going to cover down on it. We're also got so much content in what we did, even to the extent that I had one dipper I couldn't even get to yesterday. Plus, I created something new today. I've got the three dippers, but at some point, I'm going to have to do a sidebar. In the courtroom, we call that a side conversation outside of the presence of the jury. So we're going to have us a sidebar on a small topic that I gotta bring up because it's just too weird. So yeah, number one of the triple dipper and all is going to be there, but I'm still going to have a sidebar at some point. So with that being said, Butters, triple dipper, hit it.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right. The Triple Dipper, 3 story, 3 themes, if you will. You got to know as we run today's show. Coming right out the gate, it's breaking news right now. Former President Trump is being booked as we speak on 37 federal charges in his indictment. It's a complete circus at the courthouse down there in Florida. And yeah, I mean, it's like, truly it's a 3-ring circus. People dressed up, waving signs, waving flags. And it's just something to see. But nonetheless, it's also a major event. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about that, among other things. Number one of the Triple Dipper, I'm calling it blind justice. So number one, blind justice. We'll cover all of that as we get moving in the dippers. Number two, it's Pride Month, and it's getting weirder by the day. Now, I don't mean like a little bit. I'm talking like nudity on the White House lawn weird. I'm not kidding. If you haven't seen the stories, it's going to make you mad. But all the way around, we're looking at number 2 on the Triple Dipper. I'm calling it Pride Before the Fall. Yeah, I'm thinking that there's so much of a rabid sense of trying to get all they can and do what they can and push the boundaries. I'm saying Pride Before the Fall. That's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, I didn't get to it yesterday, so we're going to today. Even got some more content added to it. China Rising. China Rising. I mean, it's an amazing thing to watch, the level and the extent to which China is getting out in the world, filling the vacuums the Biden administration is leaving behind. And they're doing it quickly. So number 3 on the Triple Dipper, China Rising. All right, let me jump over here to my opening comments. I've been spending some time over the last few days unpacking some of the principles that I believe make up a conservative worldview. Well, today's principle is one that is spot on and goes right into the Triple Dipper. See, I've said every time that it's not enough for us to say, I'm a conservative, and expect the world should accept it. We have to be able to clearly articulate it. It's sort of like our faith. Like 1 Peter 3:15 says we should be ready at all times to give an accounting for the joy that is within us, but we should do so with gentleness and respect, meaning we have to have the ability to communicate what it is we believe. Well, the same should be true about other things in life. Like in this case, you say you're a conservative. What does that even mean? Those thoughts and definitions, they have to actually be truly steadfast positions. Because if there's something you can equivocate on, or you don't know how to define your positions, then you're more easily talked out of them. I've covered the concepts of freedom so far. I've covered the strict construction of the Constitution. I've covered conservatism as in terms of fiscal accountability. Well, today, Let me just jump in feet first on the idea that I am a conservative because I believe in the rule of law and its equal application to everyone. So in light of recent events involving Trump and Biden and Clinton and others, let me just say that as an American, as an attorney, I'm a firm believer in the rule of law and its fair and even application. There's a reason why Lady Justice, the statue, is blindfolded. It's so that bias cannot be present in the judicial system. And while it may not always work, we have to at least pursue the concept, right? We have to fight for it. We have to demand it. Because when the day comes that we just roll over and accept the uneven application of laws of this land, then we've just relegated ourselves to tyranny. A few years ago, I realized I had never read the classic book To Kill a Mockingbird by Alabama's own Harper Lee. I mean, how did that happen? How did I miss that one along the way? Was it not required reading anywhere in my educational journey? Well, apparently not. A world-renowned Pulitzer Prize-winning classic with Alabama roots. So I found a copy, and I commenced to reading and quickly saw why it was a classic. I mean, in 2006, a group of British librarians, they ranked that book as one of those that every adult should read before they die. It's a tale that has a lot of reality in it, of things that should never happen in any society, not the least of which is the abuse of the justice system. As the main character, Atticus Finch, is defending a black man in the trial against false claims, he makes an impassioned plea to the jury. If you don't mind, I'll just read this quote to you. He said this, quote, "There is one way in this country in which all men are created equal. There is one human institution that makes a pauper the equal of a Rockefeller. The stupid man the equal of an Einstein. It's the ignorant man being the equal of any college president. That institution, gentlemen, is a court. It can be the Supreme Court of the United States or the humblest court in the land or this honorable court which you serve. Our courts have their faults, as does any human institution. But in this country, our courts are the great levelers, and in our courts, all men are created equal." All right, me talking again. I believe that. I believe that. Actually, I do. I know that some want to say that our justice system is rigged against this or that kind, but I believe wholeheartedly that the even application of law in our society sets us apart from so many others in the history of the world. I'm a conservative, in part because I believe that the rule of law matters. The enforcement of the laws, as to all people, is supposed to mean something. And as a conservative, what bothers me greatly is when those laws are flagrantly ignored by those whom we've entrusted to enforce them. I mean, there's a new trend. You've all seen it. We used to speak to the concept of activist judges, but now I believe we must also speak to the onset of a new trend of activist prosecutors and political hacks who choose to ignore the law. Case in point, I know you've heard about the activist prosecutors filling out the ranks as district attorneys in major cities, several of them funded during their elections by George Soros. Most recently, aside from the already egregious cases of the DAs in L.A. and San Francisco, is the activist DA in Manhattan, New York, recently elected Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. He has intentionally directed his staff to reduce any pursuit of prosecution of multiple felonies at no more than misdemeanor level. Regardless of state sentencing guidelines, or for that matter the desire of the city's residents to be safe and prosperous, DA Bragg has chosen to do what the new mayor has dubbed a hug-a-thug policy. Not a good plan. The rule of law not even being fully enforced. But let me bring it home for you. What about liberal Mayor Randall Woodfin of Birmingham, who has determined on his own that municipal court drug possession charges should not be prosecuted? He also went so far as to issue blanket exonerations of prior convictions in April of 2021, calling it his Pardons for Progress program. Is that really his role? The laws are on the books and they're enacted by the legislature. Should a mayor of one of the largest cities in these southeast United States be able to just blanket disavow those laws? Then there's the case of Governor Kay Ivey. You may have heard the legislature is once again considering the expansion of casino gaming in the state, because surely that's the most important thing for us to be focused on in the age of culture wars and Bidenomics and federal overreach. But let's put aside how anybody might feel or not about casinos being placed around the state. The bill that was considered just last year, and likely will again this year, it was intended to write into state law that the several gaming interests in this state who've been breaking our laws, literally breaking our laws for years, would now be rewarded with a monopoly and the divvying up of our state to give them ground to build more casinos. I thought, surely not. I mean, Governor Ivey wouldn't stand for that, would she? I know her personally. Apparently she would, as she issued the statement last year that enforcement of the laws on gaming was hard. You heard me. The chief executive of our state thought it was just too hard to enforce the laws. So as a result, she was prepared to sign the legislation if the legislature could get it done. These are her words. Here's the actual quote. She said, quote, "Right now, gambling is going on, much of it illegal and done in the shadows. We need to put laws on the books, control that gambling, enforce it, and be sure the people of Alabama are the beneficiaries of the proceeds." Let me translate that for you into the language of non-politicians. What she just said is, yeah, gambling's illegal, but I don't have the will to enforce the current laws. So why don't we just legalize it, and I'll try to get better at enforcing the laws once I know we can make some money off of it. That's what she said. I mean, I guess we could say that about prostitution or illegal drug use. Heck, open up the floodgates to anything we're uncomfortable having to enforce. That's local, that's state. How about national? Because right now, the giant elephant in the room is the continued and seemingly desperate attempts to get Trump. Everything in the book is being thrown at him, and the most serious of all charges levied relate to retention and mishandling of classified documents. And I'll be honest, these are serious charges. Don't underestimate these charges. But the problem that conservatives have with this is twofold. For one, we don't like seeing our guy get indicted, sure. But equally as frustrating is the fact that we've seen that much more and worse just be dismissed out of hand when it comes to Clinton or Biden or others. I mean, where's the equal application? Do we have one set of laws or not? Don't gaslight us by trying to portray these as entirely different, because they're not. They absolutely are not. It's as if there's one set of laws for one party and an entirely different set of laws for another, and that cannot stand. So yeah, I'm a conservative. And as such, I believe that laws mean something, and that enforcement of those laws is as important as what they are. Laws are to be enacted by the legislative body and enforced by the executive. Prosecutors, they can enter into plea deals, but they cannot choose to openly disavow laws they have no right to ignore. And executives, like mayors and governors and even presidents, they cannot choose to provide blanket cover for the abuse of our legal system by perpetrators from the smallest drug possession case down to the largest illegal gambling operation or even violations of national security. If we're to be a nation of laws, then the laws must matter. You see, it really boils down to that. If we're going to claim to be conservatives, then we have to be willing to go to bat when we see the law being abused and unequally applied. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Well, there you have it. Just telling you, it's one of those things that you have happening right now anywhere, everywhere, the unequal application of the laws, and I'm tired of it, because the rule of law means that we should know for a fact that there is one even application of the laws passed by the legislative bodies of our state and nation, period. You don't get to pick and choose. All right, folks, Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Hey, the text lines are open, by the way, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. You want to text it in or call it in. That's the same number for both. I think we got some stuff that people are going to want to talk about today, so feel free to jump on in, not the least of which is breaking news. Trump has just entered his not guilty plea in Miami federal court. So I'm telling you, it's a circus. It's an absolute circus down there, y'all. But yeah, that's ongoing as we speak, and we'll be updating that one as we go. It'll be a little bit of the segment coming up here in a few minutes too on blind justice. Text lines are already going. What do I got here? I see Brian from Huntsville with regards to the fact that we're going to do a dipper pride before the fall here a little bit. Talk about the White House lawn being covered up with pride. It's all pride. Every bit of it's pride. It's prideful. Pride goes before the fall. Brian from Huntsville says, Biden said about the pride groups that he had never seen that much courage on the White House lawn. And Brian says, I say he has every time he boards Marine One. There you go. Get her done. Brian, one of the veterans in our audience, by the way, too, Butters, just so you know.
Well, thank you for your service, sir.
Absolutely. Yep, he's a good one. Frank from Huntsville says, what's good for the goose should be good for the gander. There you go. Mark from Madison said, absolutely agree with your comments. Keep it going. God bless. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Sama from the truck driver says, equal application of the law. Explain qualified immunity. Oh, okay, Sama. First of all, qualified immunity is legislated. So when you say equal application of the law, if you don't like the fact that the codification of laws gave qualified immunity to a government official, then you have to go talk to the government officials who passed the laws. So it's not like we're saying the prosecutor got to decide qualified immunity. The law says qualified immunity exists, and it would apply to anyone, Republican or Democrat, in that particular position. John from Huntsville. John from Huntsville goes, I don't know if Boomer is listening or not. I just want to know that I beat him in the NBA bracket. Okay, if Boomer is listening, he is now aware that he just lost because you picked the Nuggets.
We'll make sure to pass that on.
Yeah, absolutely. Making a note to myself right now.
I think he's actually taking a day off today. I don't see him in the chat or anything like that.
That's the allegation anyway. We ought to just call him and mess with him. Let's just get him on the line and say, tell us what you're doing.
You better be careful. He may not come back.
Stephen from Madison, with regards to the comment a minute ago from Frank from Huntsville, Stephen from Madison says, goose and gander, are those the only two options? Yes, those are the only two options. There's just a goose and there's just a gander. There are two genders, even in geese, goose and gander, period. Anyway, don't start with me, Stephen. But yeah, okay. We got plenty on tap today, by the way, and I'm going to want some audience participation on some of this stuff. So 833-687-4448. When we come back, we'll jump right into the first part of the Dippers. I'm calling it blind justice. And we're going to break down some of the things that, it's amazing to me. By the way, one of the articles I have is from Huffington Post. Brace yourselves. Just go ahead and prepare. But yeah, it's amazing to me how the very things that we call out as being clear indication of unequal application of the law, the left is saying, you have no right to call that out. It's not the same thing. Well, by God, it is. And I can make the case. So we'll talk about that in great detail because, and by the way, I've been in places where the law meant nothing. I have been in places where the rule of law was a laughingstock. In fact, I may tell that story when we come back just because. But yeah, it's what separates us in part from other countries. The very idea that we've got laws on the books, but we also choose to enforce. We're not a banana republic. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Blind Justice coming up next. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right, covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. That would be this one. That'd be Alabama. I'm talking about this show sends its signal like way on down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi laid on, even that for good measure. All right. Hey, listen, we're going to jump right in. Text lines are going. We got, Kevin is brand new to the text line. Kevin, tell us where you're from. He says, Kevin here, why do Republicans when in positions of power in government not enforce the laws as written? Democrats will prosecute a Republican for jaywalking. We conservatives look the other way like we don't want to go to the same level. I think part of that, okay, first of all, I'm not sure that I don't think I'm in a position to deny what you just said, Kevin, because I've seen us go soft at times. But most of what you're seeing, I mean, think about who was in charge when Hillary Clinton's server was the deal, right? That was ongoing during the Obama administration. All right, that was Comey at the helm who chose not to pursue it. And then also you take a look at what's happening right now. You got the Trump indictments are coming under the Biden administration. I will say this: the Republicans that won back the majority, they're sick to death of what's happening, and they are using every tool in the toolkit right now to subpoena information and to uncover things that Democrats refuse to talk about. So hang in there, Kevin. We're doing what we can do. And then I got one of our listeners we call Roughly Ann from Huntsville, says we are just one banana away from being a banana republic. Okay, yeah. And by the way, Kevin was from Florence. We just saw that drop in, Butters. JT, Lacey Springs, and ye goose and ye gander each scoots. He remembers. JT, thank you very much. By the way, JT, I went outside the other day, 40 geese in my backyard, man, 40. I counted 40. And there's some pooping machines, bro. I'm talking geese are some nasty creatures, bunch of yard buzzards. Anyway, all said and done. I guess on the one hand, JT, I'm honored that you remember that I did that in a monologue, but because yes, goose can scoot up to 100 times a day, 40 in my yard. If I'd left them there, that's 4,000 scoots in my yard. And they poop like dogs, Butters. I mean, you've seen them.
Oh, yeah.
You live down there by the river.
Oh,
good Lord.
A lot of fun with a BB gun.
Yeah, shh. We don't talk about that. Shh.
Oh, okay.
Federal crimes.
Gotcha.
Just saying.
I'm talking about other people.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that one time. Sure. Yeah, I read that somewhere. Sure did. How about that? Allison from Madison, we might as well be a banana republic. A trained monkey could do a better job than mine. Okay. All right. Listen, let me jump on in here and put some stuff out there for you. Blind justice. First of all, I'm not going to spend all my time talking about Trump. I'm going to talk about some other things, not the least of which is Biden, but also let's bring one home. We did have a breaking news story yesterday while I was on the air. I wanted to give you an update on it. So in Alabama, one of the governor's cabinet level positions, the director of Department of Transportation, John Cooper, who's been in that position now since 2011. But John Cooper is in charge of ALDOT. Every state road and bridge and all of it goes through his department. One of the most important positions in the entire state government. John Cooper, transportation director for ALDOT, was in the Marshall County Jail yesterday, having to post bond after being arrested on charges of harassment and intimidation. Now, his attorney, we now know, is George Barnett. George Barnett, his personal attorney, suggested the arrest stems from a land dispute between he and a neighbor. We got another update this morning that says apparently this neighbor insists they have an easement across John Cooper's land, and Cooper, who, by the way, has been known to have a temper, apparently got into it with his neighbor. All that to say, we now have a cabinet-level position here in the state that was just arrested on a misdemeanor charge, though, of harassment and intimidation. So what's going to happen? Well, first of all, I'll just tell you this. And it's unsubstantiated, so I say this carefully, just knowing, but there are, one of the worst kept secrets in Montgomery is that John Cooper's health may not be that great and that he is likely to retire this year no matter what. I cannot help but think, though, that what we're looking at here is a thing that's going to hasten his retirement. So anyway, AlDOT Transportation Director John Cooper arrested on a harassment charge. There's your update, property dispute with a neighbor. It's a shame. All right, let's jump into some other stuff. All right, so Roughly Ann's texting in, says 40 geese. That's a lot of poop. And she has like emoji poops. Yes, thank you, Roughly Ann. You are correct. Yeah, that's, by the way, Butters, that's the lovely Charlene. That's her Achilles heel. That's her kryptonite, man. Geese. It's just,
really?
You can ruin her good day by telling her there's geese in the backyard. Ugh. Just saying. If I come home and there's pots and pans by the back door, I know she's been out in the backyard chasing geese and banging pans and trying to get them out of the yard.
You need to get some video of that to post on the internet.
I'm not gonna be surprised to find out the neighbors already have it. All right, listen. So I said earlier, I've been to places where the rule of law meant nothing. I will never forget. In Afghanistan, towards the beginning of the war, we had a situation where I'm out in the middle of nowhere, right? And one of the things we were trying to do was not only combat operations and patrolling and all this kind of stuff, but we were trying to restore a sense of normalcy and win the hearts and minds of some of the people. So we were doing things like helping to, rebuild schools and all kinds of stuff. And I found out that one of the local warlords, we called them warlords, he was not like the governor of the province. He was the local military thug. Anyway, I found out that General Miralam had shut down the contracts we had to build some stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? So I go to see Miralam. And, it's one of those things where yes, you shall come to see me. So I went to his place, rolled in there with my detail. We're the whole beard and all this, riding in the Toyota trucks. And I come rolling through the gate of his compound. And I'm thinking, looking around at some of the thugs he's got, I'm thinking, I might never get seen again. Well, I go in to see him with my interpreter. And he sits there and gives me the business for a while about why he is General Miralam and I must do these things. And I finally had to say, those were done under contract with the United States government and you cannot get involved. And finally he threw up his hands. He was exasperated. He looked at me and he goes, fine, but it is my job here, these things I do. So in America, when there's a contract problem, who handles it? Well, I knew the answer to that. And I said it. And my interpreter interpreted it. I said, the lawyers. The whole room broke out laughing. They thought that was the stupidest, funniest thing they'd ever heard. And it occurred to me right there on the spot, the rule of law means nothing in some parts of the world. I don't want us to be like that. I mean, if we see the rule of law not being evenly applied, it's our job, y'all, to point it out. It's our job to jump up and down, to stand up on the desk, to get on the TV and the radio and to say, you know what, that ain't right. And we can't sit out. Now, we may not be able to affect all the outcomes. We may not be able to change the verdicts. We might not be able to reverse the indictments. But what I'm saying is this. If we sit idly by and let justice be applied unevenly by saying nothing, then we have just become part of the problem. And we have just rolled over and allowed ourselves to become nothing better than what I saw in Afghanistan in 2002. Where the rule of law, what's that? That's silly. Why would you bring that up? Because it means something. So yeah, there's that. We've got a number of situations developing today. Let me see which one I can find that I want to go with first. Here's one in terms of unequal application of the law. It was a breaking story yesterday. I pulled this one off of Fox. It's multiple pages. I'm only going to get to a little bit of it. But, you think, okay, every time something has come up with Trump's name on it, the rush to investigate has been almost to the point of being avid. I mean, you've had Schiff and Swalwell out there talking about the evidence they've seen that no one can ever find now. The collusion and Russia and, impeachment. But how about when there's something on the Bidens? By the way, Butters, I don't know if you know, there's a cricket button over there. Do you see a cricket button? Do you know where that cricket button is? If you can find the cricket button, you just play it right now. If you can't, then just, you got it? That's it. That's the investigation on the Biden family right now. So Senator Chuck Grassley, who has been, along with James Comer from Kentucky, has been the one who has been like making some waves right now. He's the one who's been having whistleblowers come to his office. And Senator Grassley has been on top of this corruption of the Biden family like you would not believe. He went to the floor of the Senate yesterday. Have y'all heard this? He went to the floor of the Senate regarding that FBI-generated document. It's called an FD 1023 form. It's the one that whistleblowers told Grassley, hey, there's a document that exists showing that the FBI has already interviewed some guy who says that he's got evidence of a Biden bribery scheme back when he was VP. What? Where's that document? Who's looking into it? What was it conclusive? Was it reliable? Was it corroborated? Well, it's taken some time. But Grassley and Comer were finally able to see the document, and then they were finally able to persuade the FBI they had to release it to the Oversight Committee, except that what the Oversight Committee got to see was somewhat redacted. Pray tell, Phil, what was redacted? How about the part that mentioned that the individual knows for a fact that the Burisma executive in Ukraine has 17 recorded conversations with Hunter and Joe Biden about passing money through to the Biden family as Burisma was looking for contracts in the West. I'm just telling you, man, if that's the case, here I'll go to the article. Grassley, Republican from Iowa, revealed from the Senate floor Monday what was said to be a redacted reference in the FBI-generated FD 1023 form alleging a criminal bribery scheme between then Vice President Joe Biden and a foreign national that involved influence over U.S. policy decisions. 2 audio recordings, there's 15 of them with Hunter. There's 2 audio recordings, though, that are between that individual and VP Joe Biden. Grassley from the Senate floor slammed the FBI for not complying with the House Oversight Committee subpoena, saying Congress still lacks a full and complete picture with what the document really says. Grassley demanded answers on what, if anything, has the Justice Department and the FBI done to investigate. Here's my question. How long have they had this? Because if it had Trump's name on it, it would have already been a front page article on the New York Times the moment it got into the FBI's possession. I'm going to tell you, it would have. How long have they had this? And now I got to ask the next question, kind of in relation to what Grassley just said. How hard is the FBI really trying to follow up on it? How much effort is going into this? Have they assigned a special task force? Has it been given certain notoriety? Has anybody been assigned to follow through, corroborate, or build up the evidence or not? Can they rule anything out? Or do they just look at it and go, imagine that, and put it in the inbox and go back to hunting down things on Trump that didn't exist? This is where we get into the, equal application of the law, blind justice. Because I'm going to tell you right now, man, if that had Trump's name on it, for a fact. Butters is nodding his head. For a fact, Butters, if that had Trump's name on it, it'd have been front page news, and it would have been an entire Senate panel organized just to pursue that one piece of paper. Just, my God.
Tons of man hours wasted.
Tons. But right now, it's a dusty piece of paper in the back halls of the FBI. According to the FD 1023 forum, the confidential human source said the Burisma executive discussed Hunter's role on the board. The confidential human source questioned why the Burisma executive even needed his or her advice in acquiring access if Hunter was on the board, and the Burisma executive answered because Hunter's dumb. This does sound like legitimate evidence. You know the deal. You look for what's called, in the law, we call it the present sense impression. Does the document relate to the present sense impression of the person who created it?
Nice.
This one, I think it qualifies. But it went on, man. It went on to say that this was a $5 million bribery scheme, and there are 17 phone calls, 2 of which are with Uncle Joe himself. Unbelievable. Unequal application of the law? Feels like it. All right, we'll take a break right now. We'll come right back, and I'll just keep this going. I got several things. What are they saying about the judge over Trump's case that he just had to go plead not guilty to? By the way, what's going on? Why are we not allowed to compare this to Hillary Clinton? I'll tell you about that. And then the company called BleachBit, did they actually even kind of brag that they were involved in Hillary Clinton stuff? Yeah, we'll be right back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right, making common sense a superpower. All right, jumping over the text lines real quick. I'll keep those up to date. Let's see. David from Huntsville. They say geese may have an easement that runs through your The geese say they have an easement that runs through your yard. They think they do. I'm about to knock out their ingress and egress, let me just tell you. Tim from Madison, I love my audience takes care of me with the geese because they know how Charlene feels about the geese. Now I don't like them either; they drive me crazy. But I think what's really happening here is the lovely Charlene has people out there taking care of her because, like Tim from Madison says, there's some stuff you can buy that makes geese not come in your yard. Yeah, it's called a 22.
I mean, from other people. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not you.
I read about that somewhere.
You wouldn't want to incriminate
It's
yourself.
on YouTube. Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right. Hey, listen, let's keep it moving here. So we're in number one of the Triple Dipper, blind justice, the equal application. What happens? I don't know what they want. The Trump administration is going to want. We're in. By the way, we are in uncharted waters. There has never been a time like what we're seeing right now, where a current president who's running against a former president has a DOJ that brings up the former president, who is, by the way, his political opposition, on charges that he has to stand before a judge right now. That is unique in all the world. None of God's children have ever seen that happen. This is in the United States. This is unheard of. It also, by the way, it smacks of politics. That's one of the things that really bothers people. It's not just the unequal application of the law. It's also, you look at it and go, okay, wrong is wrong. I get it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. There's a thing called prosecutorial discretion that allows you timing. It also allows you to consider certain charges or not. And what we saw here was like the prosecutorial discretion in this case went full bore. Let's get it done. Oh, by the way, the same day that the document regarding the potential Burisma bribery scheme against Biden came out. Oh, that's funny. Quick, get it out there. But we got a thing on Biden. Trump, okay. That's what we're looking at. But now they're worried about the judge. Townhall.com. Why the judge who may preside over Trump's case is angering Democrats. Pray tell, why would this be? Because she joined the Federalist Society and she might be a Republican. That's what we're doing right now. I mean, you're not allowed to forum shop. I mean, don't tell me it doesn't happen. I know it does. But you're not allowed to forum shop. You don't have the ability to just pick your judge. The Democrats, according to Town Hall, are angered by the fact that this judge was actually appointed by Trump, may preside over the president's case. Democrats are also reportedly worried that Judge Cannon, her name is Judge Eileen Cannon, can blow the whole case up since past rulings from her have slowed down the Department of Justice's investigations into Trump. And did they slow them down? Well, what they did was they had to go through a special master to review documents because she recognized that large masses of classified documents couldn't go to just any attorney. So last year, Cannon granted the request by Trump's team to have a special master. She ordered an appointed judge to sort through it. Part of that was overturned to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. But she's a Republican, and she's a part of the Federalist Society. It gets scary when you're a Democrat and you need to get Trump. All right, more of this. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, all the issues, and covering down on them just like the dude said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Real quick, the text lines are open, by the way, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Penny from Athens. Hey, Penny. Penny from Athens is texting in and says, we're listening to you, Phil, as we're cleaning the pool. Got it on loud enough so maybe my neighbors might learn something. Well, they just did, Penny. Anyway, appreciate you, Penny from Athens. And then Roughly Ann from Huntsville says, with regards to Trump's indictment, God provides, Trump will be okay. The devil's already been defeated by Jesus Christ. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you, Roughly Ann. Appreciate you. All right, I got a piece here from Huffington Post. Huffington Post. Ooh. I know. Did you go to Huffington Post? Yes, I did. So, here's the thing. I am of the honest belief that yes, what happened with Clinton's server is directly analogous to what is happening right now with Trump. Classified materials, off-site, not being handled correctly. What's going to happen? In Clinton's case, nothing. In Trump's case, well, you could see it. Had to go into federal court today and plead not guilty. They're looking at felony charges right now. What about Biden? How about the documents that were stored up in his garage? For the love, sitting in old cardboard boxes next to his Corvette. Then they found some in a closet at the Penn Biden Center. Then they found somewhere else in his house. I think his library is what it was. And so the liberals are trying to talk, and it's not the same. Biden cooperated. Well, go back and look, because Trump may have been resistant, but he was cooperating. In fact, he was told when they said there were some that were questionable that go lock him up, and so he did. By the way, let me say, I was talking to a friend earlier about this, and we were speculating on some of it. All the pictures that the press is throwing out there right now, cardboard boxes stacked up in Trump's bathroom and on a stage in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. Keep in mind, the indictment discusses about roughly 135 pages. All those boxes are not the classified documents. In fact, you don't know what's in those boxes. Those could be boxes of toilet paper for all we know. So some of them may have a classified doc, but all the boxes you're looking at, don't be fooled by look at all the boxes. So what? Have you seen my attic? I mean, half of that, Charlene's got half our attic is filled with boxes of Christmas decorations. I'm just saying, you don't know what's in those boxes.
Pretty sure he can afford to have proper storage for his boxes and not overflowing like the rest of us.
And I'm thinking that he probably hadn't even had a chance to store them yet at that point. Just saying. But nonetheless, boxes are sitting out, but do not be fooled into thinking every one of those boxes is filled with classified documents and national security issues. No. However, the left does not want you to believe for a second that what happened with Hillary Clinton can be compared to what happened with Trump. Entree, the article from Huffington Post, dated late last week. Former President Donald Trump was indicted Thursday on charges related to violations of the Espionage Act and the mishandling of classified documents taken from the White House. The Republican whining has already begun, says the article. It goes on from there. So it says Republicans are sure to ramp up the comparisons between Trump's indictment and similar cases involving former Secretary of State Clinton, former Vice President Mike Pence, and President Joe Biden, all of whom had some classified material in their possession as private citizens as they rushed to defend Trump. Well, yeah, because when you look at an uneven application of the law, you have to decide whether or not there is something that was handled differently in one place, and if so, why does that not mitigate the charges we have in this case? In the Trump case, Huffington Post says, He willfully retained national defense information under the Espionage Act, making false. Do they really believe that what is happening here is that Trump was determined to, in some way, violate national security by getting the information in those boxes to a foreign government? Is that what they're saying? Well, how about this? He willfully retained national defense information. Do you know how many classified emails were discovered in what they could get to in the Hillary Clinton server? Thousands. Thousands with classification markers. I imagine, Butters, at some point in your Navy career, you had to work on the SIPRNet.
Oh, I was a TSSCI guy. I've been in a lot of skiffs.
I've been in a lot of skiffs myself, TSSCI, read onto the SAPs, and you know the air gaps. You don't have anything classified on an unclassified computer. In fact, we had 2 separate computers at our desk. If you're going to work SIPR, you had to turn around and use that one. If you're going to work NIPR, you turn around and use that one. Green versus red.
Yeah, I've been out of the game now for a couple of years. I still wake up at night afraid that did I bring something home with me?
Did I turn it off before I left? Did I lock up my computer? Here's the deal. If they're going to say willful is one of the things they're looking for here, don't tell me for a second that it wasn't willful for Hillary Clinton to have a server in her house running government business to include classifications. Don't tell me there's nothing. Like she didn't know? How long had she been around the U.S. government to that point? She had been the first lady, and I would call like an aggressive first lady. She had been a U.S. senator, and she was Secretary of State. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she had her own server and let things just run through that. Well, Huffington Post goes, because the servers for the State Department, they were notoriously behind the times. Does not matter. So Justice Department investigators have reason to believe that the FBI had to search Mar-a-Lago in August of 22 to recover 102 documents because Trump had said that he'd already turned them all in and he really hadn't. Okay. So that whole conversation he was having with our lawyers about what do you still want? You want what? Oh. But then you go and look at the comparisons. The Hillary Clinton case, according to Huffington Post, obviously the comparison the Republicans have and will make to Trump's predicament is that Clinton's use of a private email server from 2009 to 2013, active and willful use of a private server for classified government communications. No telling what documents were attached. By the way, some of that, if you remember too, Huma Abedin was her aide, who was married to the infamous Anthony Weiner, who, by the way, some of these classified documents wound up on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Just saying.
So I will throw out a side frustration as a member of the military in all of this, and you want to complain about the antiquated servers and systems. So instead of going in and fixing that for the rest of us, you decided to get your own server and circumvent the process.
Yeah, that's a great point. How about you use your influence to try and get things working? How about you go, I am the Secretary of State for the United States of America, and by God, fix the DOS server so I can get some work done, please.
Amen.
But what does she do? Hey, we got to protect these communications. I know. Put one in the closet at my house. Because it's all about, what's the song by, is it Toby Keith? I want to talk about me, talk about I, talk about number one, oh me, oh my, what I think, what I like, what I know, what I want, what I see. I like talking about you usually. But occasionally, I want to talk about me, said Hillary Clinton over and over and over again.
Amen.
Don't ever ask me to sing on the air again. That was a one-time event. So the investigation, is it the same? By God, yes, it's the same. But they're saying that James Comey, when he was the director of the FBI, he came out and said that what actually happened was it was behavior that was, quote, extremely careless in the handling of, his words, very sensitive and highly classified information. No charges, though, would be filed because, in his words, quote, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. So what he basically did was he passed the buck. You know, Hillary, wow, you left me in no good position here as the FBI director. I'm going to go ahead and say that was really screwed up, but we'll let it lay. We'll walk away from it now. What happens with Trump? Trump's got a document. Where is it? We don't know. We think it's somewhere in his bathroom or something. What's on it? We don't know, but it's classified. Let's do something. I know. Willful mishandling under the Espionage Act. I'm just telling you, folks. And then you got this one, and I'll finish with this. Hillary Clinton destroyed that server, had her staff do it with a hammer after they ran an open source cleaning software called BleachBit through the systems to wipe it out. So in the words of Trey Gowdy, even God couldn't read them at that point. BleachBit. I went to the BleachBit website. This is still up as a news piece. They're somewhat proud, it appears, that they were named as the tool that the Secretary of State used to wipe her server. And if you remember, too, when Hillary Clinton was confronted about this on one of the very few times that someone confronted her, her joke was, wipe it? What do you mean, like with a cloth or something? Stop it. All I'm saying is this. There is an unequal application of the law. And I understand that if Trump has done something wrong, and these charges, by the way, are very serious. I'm not kidding. I mean, Butters and I are both sitting here in the studio, both of us having worked in places where we understand what classification means and why certain things don't ever get let out. And I was told when I got read off at the Pentagon, if I ever write a book, I have to let them read it first. Okay. All that to say, Trump's got some pretty serious allegations right now. And don't underestimate it, because we don't know what the judge is going to do. And we don't know what the prosecution's got that we haven't seen. And we don't know how in the world Trump's going to defend every bit of it. Although I believe he's got a strong and adequate defense. But that being said, what we want as much as anything is to know that if somebody screws up, it's treated a certain way. And that if somebody else screwed up, it's treated the exact same certain way. You don't get a separate rule book based on who you are. We want blind justice back. Thank you very much. All right, folks, we're going to take a break right now. We'll come right back. I'll take these text messages. Apparently, my text lines have blown up. There's a sound effect for that, by the way. You're going to have to learn to play that one, too. All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Me and Butters. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right, saving the world, one soundbite at a time. The text lines, Butters, have blown up. Thank you very much. You are on it, my brother. So let me see what all we got in here. I'll read a few of them. Teresa from Town Creek, just with regards to all this, says, just send in the clowns. Now I'm going to be singing that in my head all day. But Jeff from Hazel Green just says, back to the geese again. He goes, 2 words for goose control: Roman candles.
Do they make those anymore?
I'm going to find out, because I think that'd be some epic fun. That and bottle rockets. I've already planned on this. I mean, this is that, and if I can get hold of a paintball gun, I'm just thinking there are some what I would call some non-lethal effects that we can bring to bear. Escalation of force is a thing in goose control.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. David from Huntsville. Hillary's crime was much worse than what Trump did. Her server had State Department materials with no security, things that China and Russia could get to easily, and then he ends up with DeSantis 2024. So he's defending Trump, but he's for DeSantis. Doug from Birmingham. Why would I ever believe those pictures of all the boxes are actually really from Trump's home? Because as dishonest as the media is, I'm sure they're just pictures they randomly pulled off the internet. Doug is deep in the conspiracy on this one. Marcus from Huntsville. Long one, Marcus. Man, okay. Trump's documents were known. He was in talks with the National Archives to deal with his files that were under lock and key. Biden had unknown classified documents in an office that was opened after he left the vice presidency. He had no business even having those documents. He did not know about them, and they were in 3 different locations. And Clinton was intentionally and willfully mishandling classified documents and then distorting the evidence when told to turn them over. Trump's situation is very different indeed. I agree. Well said. Long text, but well said. Ken from Harvest, the press and the Dems are not protecting Hillary or Biden. They're protecting Obama's legacy. Ooh, there's a little something. There's a little something to think about. Doman out in Harvest says Clinton was trying to avoid the Records Act. I agree. She was trying to make sure that she could say stuff and not have it come back on her when she ran for president, because she was surely going to be president because it was hers. It was hers to have. Everybody knew it. It was her time. Can you imagine if she'd been president? My gosh. She would still be president. Wait, would she still be Yes. She would be in her 2nd term right now, wouldn't she? Good gosh. JT from Lacey Springs. Mar-a-Lago documents. Isn't the estate guarded 24/7 by Secret Service? Therefore, any and all items and personnel have a degree of security. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, you are correct. I am pretty sure there was no such security at the Penn Biden Center. Not at all. And where am I at? Badger from Athens says, since the team went to Mar-a-Lago alone, who knows what else also got planted. Wow. Conspiracy theories are running deep on this one, bro. Wendell from Baton Rouge. So we have, by the way, we have a very diverse audience, just so you know.
I'm seeing that.
We got Rayson from Hawaii and Jeff from Indiana, and we got Wendell from Baton Rouge. We got folks from South Carolina, from Georgia, all of them. Wendell, Baton Rouge. When you talk about Democrat politics, Clinton scandals, China rising, just think back to the 90s and remember Clinton Defense Fund, Man, you're going way back, Wendell, but you are right. There were all kinds of and sophisticated tech computers transferred to China, allowing China rapid advancements in technology. Unbelievable. I'd forgotten about some of that, or maybe I had just chosen to omit those from my memory. Russell from rural Route 1 in Alabama says, you forgot the big difference between Trump and anyone else who had classified documents. Trump could easily declassify, and he was under the Presidential Records Act, which is civil. And that is, by the way, a great point. So yes, the only person in the National Command Authority who has the ability to declassify is indeed POTUS, President of the United States. VP Biden had no such authority. Some of the documents, by the way, he had dated back to when he was a senator, which they're not even allowed to carry those out anywhere. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had no authority to declassify. Trump's argument right now is he had declassified some of these documents. The thing that's getting him right now is there's a recording of him saying, I forgot to declassify this one, but let me show you. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he says. So we'll see. We'll see. But I agree with you, Russell, that the man had the authority to declassify documents. The question is, did he? And can he prove he did? Because is it enough to just say, box those up, I'm going to call those declassified? Or does he have to fill out the forms, leave the paper trail, which I believe he does, and if there's not one, that's going to hurt him. Brian from Huntsville, First Lady or not, I can't believe you use Hillary and lady in the same sentence. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Anita from South Huntsville, can't wait to see the courtroom sketch artist caricatures. I'm sure they're going to look like something from the New Yorker, probably. And then John from Huntsville says those are actually pictures of boxes full of illegal Biden votes. All right, coming up next, we're switching gears. We're moving to Pride Before the Fall. It's going to be a kicker. Y'all stay tuned. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right, covering down some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation, Alabama. I'm talking about, man, listen, this show goes way on down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. And just for proof of that, Steve from Tennessee is on line one. So let me jump over there and grab that real quick. Hey, Steve, how you doing, man?
Hey, Phil, man, you mentioned bottle rockets and geese, trying to get rid of the geese.
Yeah.
Here's what you do, buddy. You go to the hardware store and buy yourself an 8-foot stick of Schedule 80 PVC pipe. Get the thick wall stuff. Drill you a hole in it, cut it in half at 4-foot lengths, and drill a hole about 1 foot up so you can bend that fuse at 90 degrees and poke it through that hole. And you got yourself the best shoulder-mounted missile launcher you've ever had. You can shoot the big ones or the little ones. And if you really want to see something impressive, hit one with a potato gun. Now that's a feather explosion that would be, probably fatal, but nevertheless impressive. But no kidding, you get the little missiles flying, and they will fertilize your place as they fly away.
Brother, I am all over this idea. I'm pretty sure I'm finding me a fireworks stand and some PVC pipe. Good Lord.
You can buy the big rockets and the little rockets and all that and shoot them safely in that PVC because they're like 1.5 inches or 1 inch PVC like that. That heavy wall is not going to blow up and hurt you. So there you go.
I'm in, brother.
Tip of the day.
I feel a YouTube video. Hold my beer. I'll be right back.
See ya.
See you, man. Good calls. Good calls. Good calls. All right. Well, listen, we are jumping over to the next round of the Triple Dipper. I tell you what. You know what I'm doing? I'm gonna take a sidebar. I got to do a sidebar. I said earlier. So I've got the Triple Dipper. Consider this to be like a mini dipper. This is like an extra. This is a sidebar. If we're in court and the jury's there and I got to say something, I don't want the jury to hear it. I go, Your Honor, sidebar, please. So let's just, Butters, may I have a sidebar? Or do you mind if I have a sidebar right now?
Sure.
This is totally unrelated. You been to the beach lately?
It's been a
It's a yes or no question, Butters.
I think last November, yeah.
Okay. While you were at the beach, any wildlife that stood out to you as being a little concerning? Anything you saw that you're like, wow, what's up?
Other than all the tourists?
There's some wildlife among the tourists. Okay, I got 3 stories here. One from CBS News, one from Yellowhammer, and one from the Charlotte Observer reported through AL.com. I don't know what's happening right now at the beaches in Alabama, but if you've not heard, so in March, Alabama beaches saw alligators. So we had one alligator riding the waves near Dauphin Island, bobbing around, and then coming ashore while people were standing there watching it. And they're thinking, what in God's name? Alligators. I did not. Now, I know that they're in the brackish bay, where the water goes from salt to fresh back and forth with the tides. I did not know they swam out in the intracoastal waterways and in and around the beaches. But right now we got gators on the beaches.
One more thing to bite you.
Let me go one step further. How about this story from AL.com dated yesterday? Hammerhead sharks chasing swimmers out of the water at Alabama's Robinson Island. This is down yonder near Floribama, that area. So dozens of boaters out for a day in the sun in Alabama got a special surprise when they suddenly were not alone in the water. I saw the video. This was not like a fin in the distance. This was like people standing there looking down at their feet going, what is that? And you can tell it's a hammerhead shark. And there were multiple of them. A school of hammerhead sharks swam up to the boats, causing swimmers to rush to get out of the water. Now, where's the piece? Are hammerheads, do they eat people?
I was just wondering, how aggressive are they?
I don't know. But when they're as big as you are, you just get out of their way.
I'm a big fan of swimming pools. Just saying. I will deal with the kids' issues and them peeing in the pool over things that can sting you and bite you and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, last one though. As if alligators and hammerhead sharks were not enough. This is the other part of my side, but this is what kicked this off for me. Did you see the story about what swam ashore, literally, down in Gulf Shores just yesterday?
You mean besides people from Cuba?
Yes. Yes, besides people from Cuba. A bear, a black bear. So, story, this one's from Yellowhammer, one of the many you can find. Actually, I take it back, it was in Destin, so it was not far off, all right. But nonetheless, it was in Destin. Beachgoers got quite a surprise Sunday afternoon when a black bear waded out of the Gulf of Mexico onto the shore after a dip in the water. And people on the beach were like, what the heck? And I saw him. He wasn't big, but he wasn't a cub. He was a black bear. Most likely, it says, came out of the wilderness areas in and around Eglin Air Force Base. But that's still a bit of a swim.
Yeah, I didn't know there were bears in that area down there.
I did not know either, but apparently one guy said it's not uncommon to be on his charter boat and see a bear swimming in the water. This is news to me. Total sidebar, had to throw it in there. It means nothing to the rest of the news I've got on the show, except that it just kind of tripped me out that we're looking at gators, bears, and hammerheads all in one place.
And I suppose this segment is not sponsored by the tourism departments down along the Gulf Coast.
Go to the beaches. It'll be awesome. All right. Moving along. Okay, so let's do this. The next segment, Pride Before the Fall. It's Pride Month. Have you noticed? Has anybody not noticed? Is anybody else tired of seeing the rainbow abused and misused? Does anybody else feel like they're vomiting rainbows on us at every step? So here's the thing, and this is what kicked this into high gear for me. If you've not seen it, by the way, I'm on one of my social media accounts on Twitter. I got flagged this morning by Twitter for posting a mainstream story. Why? What was it? Pray tell, Phil, what would you be retweeting? How about just a topless transgender on the White House lawn during the world's largest gay pride event ever held at the White House? What? Let me just tell you, this entire thing was a debacle. What did they think was going to happen? Hey, here's a great idea. Let's hang the gay pride flag in front of the American flag, which is not supposed to happen, at the White House, the capital of the free world. And then let's have a huge gay pride event on the lawn of the White House, the People's House. And oh, by the way, while you're there, let's make sure we invite any number of people who have some very deviant lifestyles and expect them to behave themselves while they're present. That's going to go swimmingly. And so you immediately got Instagram influencers who specialize in being, transgender activists who decided the cool thing to do was start doing some very provocative things while they're on the White House lawn, posing for their Instagrams in all kinds of suggestive poses. And then, oh, by the way, hey, let's strip off our shirts and show either A, the scars where we had our breasts removed, or B, let's show the breasts that we had added. The whole thing is a complete debacle. Even the White House right now, by the way, I think the least favorite job that anyone could ever be told they're being recruited for is to be the Biden administration's press corps. At some point, do you just roll your eyes and go, it's just constant spin. We can't keep up. I'm looking at it right now. Headline, Fox News, just came out pretty much since I've been on the air. White House condemns the trans activist for going topless at the Pride Month event, saying it was inappropriate and disrespectful. How about having the entire event there was inappropriate and disrespectful the way you set it up? This was destined for failure. Let's hang the pride flag in front of the American flag. That'll go great. Let's go ahead and anger most of America. And by the way, if there's any place in the nation where you're supposed to understand the meaning of symbology and flag protocol, it's the freaking White House where government sits. It's the epicenter of flag protocol. It's the place where flags fly with great intent and meaning. And what did they do? They literally superseded every bit of that and hung the pride flag in front of the American flag. Oh, not a little one. Have you seen the picture of it?
I haven't. I haven't. I try to stay away from that.
It's the classic view of the White House with the I forgot what it's called. Is it the Roosevelt patio? Anyway, it's balcony, and these are giant oversized flags with the rainbow flag hanging in the front. Not supposed to work that way. The White House now in spin mode, trying to condemn the activist Rose Montoya, who they invited to the event. What?
I'm just sitting here thinking how sad it is that I'm actually thinking at least they're condemning this.
Yeah. I mean, have we just gotten to that point? They just beat us down to we're like, well, at least they're saying something about it. I mean, Karine Jean-Pierre is not out there going, now, what I'm trying to tell you is it didn't really happen. Yes, it did. It's on her Instagram page right now. His Instagram page. I'm sorry. Whatever. Its Instagram page has got it up right now. So, yeah, we got trans nudity at the White House. That happened. But it just, you look at it and think, this is such a debacle. Pride Month has gotten so out of hand. And I was talking, Charlene and I were talking this morning. There's this sense right now that, and I'm being serious when I say this, there's a sense right now that this has become a rabid pushing of the limits. I think they recognize that time is of the essence. And their goal right now is to get as much as they can do before the next election, to do as much as they can do before the next election, to push as many limits, to grab as many kids, to break as many boundaries, to break every glass ceiling they can think of and then create some more to break them too, all before the next election. How far can we go before someone says stop? And when they do this, by the way, it's in complete disregard for protocol, for history, for decorum, for professionalism, or for that matter, for the real and honest beliefs of the vast majority of America. I am not saying don't have a gay pride event at the White House. I didn't say that. But what I'm saying is somewhere in there, someone's got to advise this administration how to contain some things. Naked transgenders on the White House lawn and the gay pride flag hanging in front of the American flag is a recipe for disaster. And that's where we are. I got more of this, lots more of this. Pride goes before the fall. You guys stay tuned. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. I'm talking about making common sense a superpower. Hey, I'm going to go to the phones in just 1 second. I got to tell you, though, one more thing about that event at the White House is that President Joe Biden held the event on Saturday, the largest gay pride event in history at the White House. And then the next day, he canceled a meeting with the Secretary General of NATO. So, NATO, that place where we have a war ongoing between Russia and Ukraine, NATO.
Priorities.
Yes. So he apparently had to have a root canal. So he's got plenty of time to spend all day extolling the virtues of the LGBTQ agenda and telling them they're the most courageous people he's ever seen. But he cannot meet the following day with the Secretary General of NATO. I'm going to the phones right now. Is that Lee from Huntsville? Lee from Huntsville, how are you doing?
Hello. You're so popular now, it's hard to get in.
It's not true at all. Hadn't heard from you. How you been?
Oh, you're the man. You're the man. And so Leanne is rough Leanne? Well, I can be rough Lee, I guess.
We'll figure it. What's up?
Okay. I think the whole pride goes before fall, very excellent term for it. Because I always thought, to myself, pride is a good word for what they're doing since it cast Lucifer out of heaven for thinking he was equal with God.
Wow.
And so, kind of makes sense. But to me, the whole flag thing hit me really wrong about the LGBT whatever flag that was in the middle and almost like above, more important than the United States flag on either side. No flag is ever supposed to fly at the same height of the U.S. flag.
That's right.
I don't believe. I don't know, maybe states in that state, but I just know that the United States flag, especially at the White House, should be the top flag, the most prominent flag, and I don't even know why we need any of it. So here's my thinking on this. We separated from Britain, a tyrannical, ruler, to form a new country that was more than just a country. It was an idea. It was a rule of democracy or representative republic that was of the people and by the people. It was a radical thought at that time. And people don't understand it now because they think as it is, it always was. So not true. This was such a unusual, different idea, the United States. And that flag represented that. And over the years, as the flag changed and became more familiar to what we know now, it represented the strength of the people. It represented right in the world. It represented goodness. It represented real law and not despotism. If you look at World War I and then especially in World War II, it represented strength. It represented saviors. And for them to denigrate this flag by putting a flag of two dudes having sex, which I don't know why that needs a damn flag. Just do your thing in private. It's a free country. I don't need to see a flag representing all of you. And so my problem is how dare you do that? And how dare you have a group of debaucherous, disgusting morons on the lawn of the people's capital disgracing it? It's like Sodom and Gomorrah up there. All I can say is where the hell were all those geese? They needed to visit that day.
That would have been the day. that would have been the day for the geese to land on the lawn and just mess some stuff up. Well,
absolutely, lots of stuff and people. Poop everywhere.
My friend, you are accurate as always and well put. Don't be so long for you call back next time.
I will. I promise.
All right, Lee. Take care. And I'll tell you. By the way, right during the break, I also saw. I did a thing, just kind of Google searching the flag protocol issue, and of course, there's already a liberal side out there going, it really wasn't a violation of the protocol. There was still a flagpole on top of the White House that had a flag on it, so it was higher. No, this is not what we're talking about. It was a display, and you know it. What should have happened was that the American flag should have been front and center, period. And then they do allow the flags of associations and things like that to occasionally be flown with the American flag, but never in the more prominent position. That's not the way it works. And Lee put it extremely well by saying it denigrates our flag when you do that. That flag stands for something. And if you're the president of the United States and you can't figure that out, you don't need the job. Have you got a jackassery button over there before we go to the break? Can you find it? I mean, this is one that ranks maybe 2 jackasseries. Just, my God. Well, you want to hit it one more time? Just do it, man. That's how we feel. Listen, we're going to keep this one going for a little bit. Blind Justice is already over with now. We're talking about Pride before the fall. What is the notion with some states that believe they can have our kids? Or what is happening with the United Methodist congregations around the nation? And what is it that Governor Newsom believes he needs to do for California in the essence of Pride going before the fall? And then what's happening with Canada? How did liberal Canada suddenly find up with a position that's more conservative than us? Oh, we'll talk about it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. We got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Inexplicably, we are already in hour number 3. Don't forget, tomorrow is going to be Hump Day, Wednesday, the day we play the camel. But that's also the day we have Grand Council. So stay tuned for that one tomorrow at 4 o'clock this time. And then the other thing that's going to be happening tomorrow is I'm going to have somebody on the show breaking some news about an intent to run for a statewide office. So that'll be tomorrow at 4:30. So we just got that scheduled here a little while ago. Stay tuned for tomorrow's show. It's going to be a good one. And listen, by the way, I want to say when you're in the breaks, like a minute ago, when we're in the breaks, you can hear the ads playing and all that. Just know this, that we are a standalone entity. All right. Rightside Radio is a business unto itself. We are not owned by the stations that we're on. We syndicated our show some time ago, and we own the content, and we send our signal to the stations. That being said, we have to support ourselves like any other business does, and one of the ways we do that is through selling advertising. If you hear this show and you're like, man, they are nailing it, I need to advertise on that show. I mean, listen to all the people that call in. There's a lot of folks that listen. We know that we're seeing an audience of in the neighborhood of 30,000 plus a week, covering over half the state. So if you want to advertise on Rightside Radio, we'd love to talk to you. The way you do it, you don't call the station, you call us. Go on our website, rightsideradio.org. That's rightsideradio.org. And there's a place where it says advertising and contact. You click on that, send us a message, and we will be in touch ASAP. So yeah, rightsideradio.org, click on the advertising tab, send us a message, and we'd love to have you as part of the team. All right, hey, I'm jumping back in. I will say this. Text lines are still open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Dave from Battleground, Alabama, just says, Phil and the gang are nailing it as usual. Thanks for working so hard. Dave from Battleground. Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. Raven from Russellville, my special operations brethren. He says, they have insulted my country, my flag, my fallen brothers and vets who fought and bled for this country. And then he gives an acronym, but he just says, day is coming for those who hate America. Hang in there, Russell, or Raven from Russellville. Roughly Ann loves Lee from Huntsville. So anyway, she just says, Lee, all caps. Glenn from Bluntsville. Yes, indeed, Glenn. It was jackassery at the White House, and we gave it a double dose of jackassery a minute ago. Sama, the truck driver, still looking for the Conspiracy Theory Thursday show. Okay. And then Teresa from Town Creek, she sent a picture of the pride flag hanging front and center where it's not supposed to be at the White House. Yeah, wow. It says, there you go, Teresa from Town Creek. Roger from Ardmore, how about pride flag on the same pole? This is at Mazda Toyota. Really? I'm scrolling down. No kidding. Toyota Mazda, I guess this is the Huntsville plant, has the pride flag flying on the same pole as the American flag. At least it's below it. There's that. All right, let me jump over here. So this topic I'm doing right now, I'm calling it Pride Before the Fall. Story here off Fox. Have you heard what's going on with the United Methodist denomination? So the denomination is seriously splitting. I mean, and we've seen this before. I mean, you've got the Presbyterians split into the PCA and the PCUSA some years ago. But the United Methodist has been somewhat of a brutal split. Story on Fox, the liberal mainline United Methodists see more than 5,000 congregations leave amid arguments about sex and gender. So here's the deal. In 2019, the General Conference for the United Methodist denomination decided to uphold the concept that they do not abide or agree with same-sex marriage or with same-sex or with the gay lifestyle. But yet in 2019, despite upholding that, the church's ban has been pretty loosely enforced. says several traditionalist members of the Methodist clergy told Fox News in 2022 that conservative churches are leaving the denomination because liberal leaders within the UMC are choosing to disregard that by commissioning gay clergy and officiating same-sex weddings anyway. Talk about thumbing your... By the way, why? Why do you feel like, all right, you know what? I'm a member of the United Methodist clergy, and I intend to just do everything I'm not supposed to do. Is there some other church you could go to, maybe? I mean, do you look at this and go, hey, I want to be a Catholic priest, but I intend to get married? That's not the way it works. I'm sorry. You knew when you came in. We're going to commission. We're going to go ahead and ordain homosexuals and let them preach in the church that says that we don't believe in same-sex marriage or the gay lifestyle. Awesome. That's going to go swimmingly. Well, it's not going over well. 5,000 churches have already, it's actually more than that. It says the number of churches that have been given the green light by their annual conferences to disaffiliate increased from 4,600 early last week to 5,300 as of this week. And it continues to grow. And it's sad, to be honest. It's sad. It shouldn't have to be this way. I mean, this is a clear example. They don't care where they hang the flag. They don't care that they get half naked on the lawn of the White House. They don't care that they're splitting up a mainline denomination of the Christian faith. They could care less. We deserve to have your pulpit and we'll take it. That's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. They didn't go out there and say, you got your beliefs, we got ours, we're going over here. They didn't do that. They came in and said, we're taking yours. This is what's going on. This is not well, everybody deserves an equal opportunity. Go create your opportunity over there if you want to. Why do you have to come destroy this one? Why was it necessary? Did anyone say you can't worship? No, they just said this church, this is not the way we believe. Well, we're going to come in and make you believe. That's what's happening. That's evil, in my opinion. Don't try and argue me off of that. That's evil. There is nothing about that says decorum or godliness, or for that matter, charity, or how about, the whole thing about sharing your faith and doing so with gentleness and respect. Where'd that come from? Well, what I do know is I see the United Methodist Church is breaking up in a big way, and the fight's about to get even deeper. We'll keep watching and see where it goes. Next story I got. This one actually also came from Fox. Several in a row came from Fox on this. California has a bill right now working its way through its state legislature that could punish parents who don't affirm their child's gender, calling the parents reckless, according to one psychotherapist. It says a California bill aims to control parents' medical decisions about their children by compelling them to provide gender-affirming care. Keep in mind, that's the euphemism they use to describe gender non-affirming care. You're actually not confirming the gender of the child. You're choosing to confirm whatever they want to be. Parents fighting custody battles could be liable for child abuse if they don't affirm their child's gender under the recently amended AB 957. The legislation, if it becomes law, would require judges presiding over such disputes to favor the parent who best affirms the minor's preferred identity. Good Lord. I mean, I just look at this and think, this is a recipe for disaster. Your kids were little. Did they know everything about the world? I mean, I'm just saying, Butters. I mean,
I'm just sitting here thinking, in the time you just read that, 10 more people just packed up and left that state.
Well, by the way, I don't know if you ever heard it or not, but we had it on the show. One of the best studies about states that are growing and states that are shrinking is the U-Haul report. U-Haul reports that more one-way trailers left the state of California than any other state in the nation, and it matches the population demise.
We got a guy that settled right here in our community.
Oh, several.
In the fishing industry that moved right over from California. Loves Alabama.
And good on him. Mm-hmm. Glad he's here. This thing goes on to point out that there is no other place in the law where we look to see what the child wants over the parents. In fact, I'll go one step further. A story that came out in March in that same vein was when Governor Newsom, his administration is actually being sued in federal court because he declared that they are a sanctuary state for minors seeking transgender medical procedures. One step further, though, it's not just, you're welcome here, kids. How about this? California recently passed Senate Bill 107, which violates the right of every parent in the state to the direct upbringing and care of their child. SB 107 allows minors to obtain gender transition procedures like puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and irreversible surgeries without parental consent, while denying parents access to their child's medical information. The bill also allows California to exercise what it calls emergency jurisdiction over minors who are seeking such treatment, meaning the state steps in and says, we know better. You silly parents, what were you thinking?
That's messed up.
That is way messed up. And this needs to be a lawsuit, and I'm glad it is. But you look at this and go, what do they think? I mean, first of all, the child could not go get a tooth pulled without parental consent. The child doesn't have the ability to sign the doctor's paperwork. The child has no legal authority to present an insurance card and sign for the copay. None of it.
I got to just sign my daughter out from the high school.
I'm saying it's ridiculous. And yet they're going to say that, but if you believe that you're, 12 years old and you think that you're supposed to be a man when you were born a girl, come on in, California says. We'll help you out. Shh, don't tell your parents. Parents find a bottle of pills in their child's bedroom. What are these? I need to know what these are. What, doctor, why'd you prescribe these? I'm sorry, I'm not authorized to talk to you about that. You're not authorized to ask that question. You're just a parent. I'm telling you, folks, pride before the fall. Pride before the fall. We're going to cover a little bit more of this when we get back from the break. I got some more. I'm going to end it on a high note, though, just so you know. I'm going to end this on a high note because right now some of y'all are ready to throw your radio across the room. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. That was a righteous bump. I just had to play that one out for a minute. Just sit here and listen to it and enjoy it. Hey, so I'm finishing up Pride Before the Fall. And by the way, I am when I say that, I'm not talking about the fall of our nation, although I think we better get a grip on it. But I hope what we're going to wind up seeing sometime soon is that this whole Pride movement has just worn its welcome slap out. Like, I get it. There are going to be people that have a homosexual lifestyle, and that's been around for I don't know how long. And nobody what happened in someone's personal life was rarely super evident. And if it was, whatever. But you know what? What we're seeing right now is the worst of the worst. So much so that there are even members of the gay community speaking out against it. I guarantee freaking to you that there are some people right now in the gay community who saw this transgender go topless on their Instagram page on the lawn of the White House that are like, stop. All you're doing is making our lives worse. But they can't control themselves because, first of all, unhealthy people do not make healthy decisions. Let's go ahead and lay that out there. Unhealthy people do not make healthy decisions. And anybody who is going to wind up rebranding themselves as something that they're biologically not and then be willing to take off their shirt on the lawn of the White House to take a picture is pretty much guaranteed not a healthy person. Got a number of text messages out here. What else we got here? Mike from Athens. When will the House start impeachment hearings? Do you think they will? I don't know, bro. We got a ways to go on that yet, but we'll wind up seeing. Shane from Athens, modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. Yes, sir. Skip from Tony, great points. We got to all stand together now in order to stop the cultural treason and madness in its tracks more than ever before. God will not be mocked. Skip from Tony. Anita from South Huntsville. I'm sorry, Anita, that's a long text, and I got to keep moving here. But she says we should respect all people, including trans people. But we cannot be forced to deny reality in the name of not marginalizing. What a great point. What a great way of saying it. Jay from Hartselle. Let's just go ahead and sell California back to Mexico. We won't even notice one less star on the flag, he says. Minnesota, Rex from Huntsville just texted in and says, Minnesota's passed laws to take minor children from parents if trans wishes are not honored. Yep, I've got that article here in front of me, as a matter of fact. I got a quick call. I'll take it before I run out of time. Line one, did that say Whiskers? Whiskers? All right. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
What's going on?
I'll tell you what, when you start talking about states taking children's rights away, they're opening up a slippery slope. And my first question is, if they're going to take the rights away, who's going to pay for the kids? Because if you take the child away, parents shouldn't have to pay for them no more. That's the first part about it. You know, I don't think the states can handle any more budget between everything else they're handing out. I'll tell you another thing. When you got these ones on the White House lawn up there and they're showing their chest and everything, that shows you exactly what you need to know about the Pride people. They are here to pour this stuff down your throat and be as absolutely inappropriate as possible because they are led by Satan. That's trans people too. We can respect a person as a person, but we got to call it what it is, and that's just straight Satan. And my last point for you is if you're a doctor and you're out there doing them surgeries to minor children, you better watch your back because there are going to be some parents that is going to be the tip of the iceberg for them, and you probably aren't going to be safe no more.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I'll add one piece to that. I think there's going to be somewhere 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now where a kid who was operated on is going to go back and find that doctor. You know what I'm saying?
I will 100% agree. And these doctors that want to do it all in the name of justice and they want to do it in the name of non-marginalizing people, you've lost your dang mind. You're just as crazy as the person that's out there getting mental health medications at this point.
Well, thank you, brother. We appreciate you, man. Have a great day. Hey, listen, last couple of points here. I got one from Daily Wire. Just this one encourages me. The Canadian province of New Brunswick, Canadian province of New, I can't even talk. The Canadian province of New Brunswick last week changed its gender identity policies to recognize the role of parents. They literally said, no child will tell us they're changing their pronouns without parental consent, no matter what the child's age is. And they also said under the new policies, children under 16 have to have parental consent to do anything like what we're seeing here. And, oh, by the way, gender-neutral bathrooms are only going to be private bathrooms. They're not going to do any more of these group bathrooms or use the ones you feel like. Good on them. The whole province in Canada Just went live with that. And I'll say this. I got a piece here off of Red State citing a most recent poll that was done. Conservatives, it says, are winning the culture war over the transgender ideology, and the numbers, they might surprise you. So it has been a massive uptick just in the last couple of years. A larger majority of Americans now say transgender athletes should only be allowed to compete on sports teams that match their birth gender. 93% of Republicans, 67% of it. That's a huge growth in 2 years, believe it or not. I don't know what was polling a couple of years ago, but what's happening is they're wearing out their welcome. And like the title said, conservatives, we're winning the culture war. There's more of us than there are of them. All right, y'all stay tuned. Talk about China rising. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right, covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. That would be Alabama. I'm talking about we send our signal way down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi, thrown in just for good measure. All right, we were. Let me just tell you before I go any further, we are proud to have ZLA Solutions as one of our partners. They've been advertising with us since this show began, and I'm just telling you, folks, they do an amazing job at helping businesses find solutions that make their business better. That's their goal in life. One of the ways they do that is through staffing. So if you need people, man, there's no better way to go than to get in touch with ZLA Solutions. You can find them on their website, zlausa.com. I mean, it doesn't matter what you need. You can need just onesies and twosies, special niche kind of skills. I always say blue collar, white collar, no collar. It don't matter. They can do the recruiting, the background checks, drug testing, all of it, and get you a whole shift of people if necessary. But yeah, ZLA Solutions, their website, again, zlausa.com. And if you talk to them, tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. These are friends of mine, and I get the biggest kick out of it when they tell me they've heard some more. All right, Butters, day 2, brother. You done fine job, man. You just jumped right in.
Well, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for pushing all the right buttons at the right time. We're going to dump into a subject that you might know a little bit about. Former Navy guy, strategic plans guy, Pacific-oriented guy, China rising. So the near-peer adversary on the world for us right now remains China. Would you agree?
Well, I'll stop you right there. Peer competitor, not near
Oh, you
peer.
don't think near peer. You're saying
no.
peer.
Oh, yeah.
God, Butters.
Hey, look, I love this country, but, I'm also a realist when you start talking about combat operations.
No, I'm not arguing. I do think it's amazing what we have. What was you said during the break? We were talking about the spy balloon that flew over, and I said, what do you think, man? I think it was gathering SIGINT or signals intelligence, and your response was it doesn't matter. That it was about what? You said what?
It's about conditioning. The fact they did it.
Oh yeah,
we do the same thing with our ships going. It's just between the islands and all that stuff.
Getting us used to the fact that they can whenever they feel like it. Just and you won't do a thing there, United States, until it's traversed all the way over and you shoot it down on the far side.
Yep.
And by then, we've accomplished our mission. It's just unreal. So, by the way, Butters, have you heard about what's going on with China and Cuba? Have you seen this one?
Little whispers.
So, first of all, John Kirby, former Admiral Kirby, who is the spokesperson for the National Security Council, you would think he would know, but he came out right away and said, that is not happening. What was his words? He said, I've seen that press report. It is not accurate. The press report he's referring to, story here on the AP, dated 2 days ago, Wall Street Journal broke a story that said the U.S. intelligence community is aware now that apparently China is operating a spy base in Cuba, and then upgrading that. They're going to, in a deal, they're going to pay billions of dollars to Cuba to build a new intel gathering capability, probably largely on signals intelligence, so they can scoop up signals from the southern portion of the United States. I mean, it's only, 100 miles off the shore of South Florida?
Yeah, not even that.
Yeah. So John Kirby says that is not accurate. Well, 2 days later, so apparently that is accurate. After claiming reporting about a planned Chinese spy base in Cuba was inaccurate, National Security Council's coordinator for strategic communications, John Kirby, admitted on Monday that the Chinese do indeed have a foothold in that country, and they are planning to use that territory to target the United States. I mean, Cuban Missile Crisis, anybody? So what do we do about this? Anything at all? Do we let it ride? Do we just go ahead and say, go about your business and pretend that doesn't happen?
It's a complicated conversation, but I will say, it's going to be interesting when they park a carrier 13 miles off the coast of California. So,
is that our territorial waters, 13 miles?
No, 12 miles.
12 miles.
But I will point out, as a guy that's been there, done that, we do the same thing with our carriers, and so part of it is a smaller world, but
it's a freedom of passage thing.
Absolutely,
and I get it. We pass through the Taiwan Strait.
But
we
building an island to increase your territorial waters and letting them get away with that. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, in the South China Sea, China has been dredging up sand and building islands. Why would they do this? Well, Butter just nailed it, because your territorial waters are based upon where your hard ground is and 13 or 12 miles out from that, according to international law. So I asked you a minute ago, these islands they've built, you said they're how big?
Well, they're big enough to put airports on and station fighters and bombers. So it's a huge problem. It's the denial of and they've got some really good weapon systems. But I mean, look, they've been very forthright that they want to take over as the preeminent superpower. They're making no bones about it. So,
and they're getting around the world doing it. Story here. It's not just, by the way, what they're doing as to us. It's how they're undermining us in other places. Here's one. So remember when Trump took office, there was this sudden thaw in Middle Eastern relations. I mean, Trump went over and they had a massive state event for him in Saudi Arabia, which no one can remember that happening before. And then the Abraham Accords, and then moving the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. I mean, Trump was in there. He was making waves, but it was working. Well, here we are today. Reuters reporting as of 2 days ago, Saudi Arabia is seeking new cooperation with China and ignoring Western concerns. In fact, not just ignoring, saying that they're ignoring it. So yeah, Riyadh, June 11th. Saudi Arabia wants to collaborate, not compete with China, the kingdom's energy minister declared on Sunday, saying that he, quote, ignored Western suspicions about the growing ties. As the world's top oil exporter, Saudi Arabia's bilateral relationship with the world's biggest energy consumer is anchored by their hydrocarbon ties. But cooperation between Riyadh and Beijing has also, quote, deepened in security and sensitive tech amid a warming of their political ties, to the concern of the U.S. When he was asked about criticism about it, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman said, I actually ignore it because as a business person, you go where the opportunities come your way. So the complete lack of he actually ignores it? No. That's actually called the cold shoulder. He's not ignoring it. He knows exactly what he's doing. And I guarantee you, if Trump was still in office, there would be a quick visit by Pompeo in the dark of night to make sure that Saudi understood something that we needed them to understand on the side. And the bilateral relationships with China would likely go by the wayside.
Well, so it's really complex today, but I go back to the simple world that my grandfather flew missions in his B-24 into Germany to bomb ball bearing factories to try and stop the manufacturing of war. What happens when you just own all the manufacturing capability? You don't need to go bomb anybody's manufacturers because you own them. So,
so your granddad flew B-24s on the Schweinfurt ball bearing factories.
Oh yeah, out of Italy.
Massive missions.
Yep. But I always when I talk about China, that just goes right back to my head. Like, why bomb it if you can just own it and run it and control all of it?
Well, so at this point, watch Saudi Arabia own a big chunk of it. But then China's looking to own most of the world, too. In fact, I've got several stories here. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're good. So first of all, Bill, you will take heart in knowing that Secretary of State Antony Blinken is headed over to China sometime soon.
Okay.
Yay. That's the guy who left all the Americans in
Afghanistan. Better than Dennis Rodman.
That was Korea.
I know.
That was North Korea. But this is a major thing that is happening on a daily basis. So if you think for a second that China is just trying to build out Chinese territory or get good China deals, no, it's not. We had an opportunity in the Middle East to continue what the Trump administration had been doing with the Abraham Accords and in building alliances and in making sure that Iran was isolated. What happened most recently? China came in the absence of negotiations with the United States at the forefront and became the chief negotiator between Saudi Arabia and Iran. What the heck? We were just there. This is how little respect the Saudi Arabians have. I mean, when you got the House of Saud that does not even care what the president, well, of course the president of the United States has insulted them at every turn. He just insults them at every single turn. So they're not going to lose face with him. They're just going to go ahead and, hey, China, how you doing? Hey, Iran, oh, okay, we can talk to you as long as China's working. It's not just there, though. Besides the deals in Cuba, China is making huge inroads into Afghanistan. Pray tell, why would that be? Maybe because the Biden administration has zero foreign policy and they created the vacuum, and guess who filled it? China. Yeah. Taliban agreed with China and Pakistan to extend the Belt and Road Initiative to Afghanistan, potentially drawing in billions of dollars to fund infrastructure in projects around the country. Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang and his Pakistani counterpart Bilawal Bhutto Zardari met in Islamabad on Saturday and pledged to work together on Afghanistan's reconstruction process, including taking the $60 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor to the Taliban-ruled region. I'm just telling you, this is everywhere we look. But it's not just in Afghanistan. How about Africa? The African continent has become China's playground. And I'll tell you one of the most interesting ways that they are buying favor. They are doing things like, in Zimbabwe, they just built them a $200 million parliament building and gave it to them as a gift with no loans attached, according to VOA News. Zimbabwe's new parliament gives an architectural nod to the country's famous ancient ruins. Lesotho has a design resembling a conical straw. Anyway, bottom line is this. China built it for them. It's more than they could have ever built by themselves. And China came in and said, we'll do that for you. I feel certain it's bugged like you would not believe. But then on top of it, what they're really doing is they're currying favor. By the way, you appear to have some natural resources we would like to extract.
Yep.
Perhaps you could make some decisions in that new parliament building that we built for you. And they're doing this, they're doing it all across Africa. It's not just one. This has happened in 15 African countries. China has so far built or refurbished parliaments in 15 African countries, including the Republic of Congo, Liberia, Mozambique, the Seychelles, and Guinea-Bissau, as well as other government buildings such as Burundi's presidential palace and the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia. China. Such benevolence.
What's really good is to see all of this in the traditional media being all covered and talked about.
Well, I had to hunt that stuff down.
I know.
That's not a top headline on Fox or
that's
CNN.
Sarcasm. So yeah.
But it's open source though at the same time. I mean, you go out there and dig, you can find this stuff, but you have to pull it together to create the open source analysis. I mean, you can't go to Fox and get the big story about what China's doing around the world. You got to pull all these little stories together and look at it and go, yep, China's rising. In the meantime, 2 days ago, Taiwan scrambled its jets as a Chinese war party crossed the median line for the second time in just days. Taiwan's Air Force scrambled fighter jets, according to Fox News, Sunday after a war party of 10 Chinese aircraft crossed the median line. By the way, a sortie of 10 aircraft is not an accident.
No.
They didn't cross that line without intent. They were testing. They were probing. They were doing what the land guys would call recon by fire. And they were also watching to see what kind of scrambling effects it brings to Taiwan. What do they do? What spins up? What radar sites go active? You know the deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Take me to a break, Butters. We'll do the break right now. We'll come right back, put a lid on the date. I got all 3 dippers done and a sidebar. Whoop, whoop. It's been a full day. You done good. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Held on during the break, so I'll jump over to line one. Jeff from Indiana. Jeff Rowe, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Phil.
Good.
Stuck in traffic like always.
Oh, you must be in Nashville.
Could be.
Oh, what you thinking today, man?
Hey, you know, with Biden and everything, he truly is the Manchurian candidate, because we're just now finding out what the Ukraine people have again, on the Biden and everything, what deals he's made. We don't know all about Russia, and we don't know all about China, and we know they gave him large sums of money. Biden and everything, his boy and everything. What was it, over $1 billion to handle?
It's
invest and stuff, I think.
Unreal. And the Chinese even funded the Penn Biden Center where they found those classified documents, if I recall.
Yeah, how much, talk about sharing documents, I think we're just reaching the tip of the iceberg on a lot of this stuff and everything. It's hard telling what we'll find out, because the administration is completely corrupt. Right now, the United States is in tyranny. We have a tyrannical government because we have, basically the executive branch is enforcer of all the laws, and they're only enforcing it against the people, their enemies, basically, and making up stuff for the rest of us.
Yeah, it goes back to that first dipper I had today about blind justice. It's not blind anymore. Justice is taking the blindfold off and deciding who it wants to apply to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's weaponized basically, because it's worse than this. Being blind, it's being weaponized. And like I say before, you have no constitutional rights unless the government protects those rights for you, and they don't have any. The Biden administration doesn't want to protect any of your rights right now. They have no interest in that whatsoever. Well,
and all the more reason, though. I mean, I agree with you. If they're not enforceable, then you really don't have them. But that's why we've got to make sure that we stay loud and we don't sit idly by and just let it happen. We can't be like the frog in a pot that just gets slowly boiled over time and wind up accommodating their intent to take over our liberties.
Yeah, I know you hate to hear this, but the Constitution has a remedy for that. and I don't think I'm quite that crazy. It's coming down the pike if things don't change.
Well, I know what you're saying, and I look at it and think, let's don't get there right now. Let's just change the freaking administration with an election next year and get ourselves back on track. That's where I hope it goes, brother. Hey, listen, man, we're less than a minute out from the break.
Our elections credible, though.
Well,
like the last one.
They're what we got right now, man. Let's keep working. Be careful on the road, buddy. We got to go. All right, listen, we got tons done today, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Don't forget Grand Council tomorrow at 4. We're going to wind up having a guest on making an announcement about a run for a statewide office. You're going to want to hear that. And then on top of it, Butters, just so you know, John from Huntsville just texted in and says, Butters is an awesome job. You get an ACE++ for a flawless display of button pushing. And Phil, I'm giving you an out-of-this-world A+++. You even got through one of those mini dippers I suggested. I forgot he did suggest that. We call them sidebars, John. Sidebars. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Butters,
appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Glad you're here. Thanks for your service. And I'm sure y'all will be hearing from Butters more. All right. Listen, great day. Great day. And remember, there's more of us than there are of them. Y'all have an amazing night. We'll see you tomorrow at 2.